When it comes to our 4 steps of incident investigation, there are certain legal documents that need to be completed. For step 1, information gathering. Step 2, analyzing the information. Step 3, identifying suitable risk control measures. And step 4, the action plan and implementation, all need to be documented. So when incidents or accidents happen, there are a few things that must be done. 2 of these things are recording and reporting. When it comes to recording, any incident, regardless of its severity, should be recorded and kept as records for incident and accident management. This is a great tool to identify where risks are creeping through our safety management system. The second is recording and reporting. Section 24 incidents and accidents, as they are called, are incidents or accidents that fit the criteria in Section 24 of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. The Department of Labor requires companies to record these on an Annexure 1 form and report them using the correct reporting forms. These may vary depending on who you have registered with for COID or compensation for occupational injuries and disease. The General Administrative Regulations gives us the minimum legal requirements for recording and investigation of incidents. This is General Administrative Regulation Section 9. An employer or user shall keep at a workplace or section of a workplace, as the case may be, a record in the form of Annexure 1 for a period of at least 3 years, which record shall be open for inspection by an inspector of all incidents which he or she is required to report in terms of Section 24 of the Act, and also of any other incident which resulted in the person concerned having had to receive medical treatment other than first aid. An employer or user shall cause every incident which must be recorded in terms of subsection 1 to be investigated by the employer, a person appointed by him or her, by a health and safety representative or a member of the Health and Safety Committee within 7 days from the date of the incident, and finalized as soon as is reasonably practicable or within the contracted period in the case of contracted workers. The employer or user shall cause the findings of the investigation contemplated in Sub-Regulation 2 to be entered in Annexure 1 immediately after completion of such investigation. An employer shall cause every record contemplated in Sub-Regulation 1 to be examined by the Health and Safety Committee for that workplace or section of the workplace at its next meeting, and shall ensure that necessary actions, as may be reasonably practicable, are implemented and followed up to prevent the reoccurrence of such an incident. The Annexure 1 document is a systematic document provided by the General Administrative Regulations Section 9 for the recording and investigation of incidents. There are 4 parts to this Annexure 1. Part A is the recording of the incident. Part B is the investigation of the incident. Part C is the action taken by the employer, and Part D are the remarks and comments by the OHS committee. In order to complete Part A, the recording of the incident, please follow the items from Part A, question 1 to 13, and fill in the necessary information. Please remember that in terms of General Administrative Regulation 9 for recording and investigation of incidents, an employer or user shall keep at a workplace or section of the workplace, as the case may be, a record in the form of Annexure 1 for a period of at least 3 years, which record should be open for inspection by an inspector of all incidents which he or she is required to report in terms of Section 24 of the OSH Act, and also for any other incident which resulted in the person concerned having had to receive medical treatment other than first aid. If you do not have these Annexure 1 documents for all these types of recording for investigation of incidents, please ensure you update your incident management now. If you have any incident or accident and it forms part of Section 24 or any other incident which resulted in the person concerning having to have received medical treatment, please keep an Annexure 1 form documented for a period of at least 3 years on site. Part B of the Annexure 1 is the investigation of incidents and accidents. You will be requested to add the name of the investigator, the date of the investigation, as well as the designation of the investigator. Who is designated or allowed to complete the investigation? According to legislation, this is the employer, a person appointed by him or her, a health and safety representative, or a member of the Health and Safety Committee. Please remember that an incident investigation must take place within 7 days from the date the incident has occurred, as well as be finalized as soon as reasonably practicable, or within the contracted period in the case of contracted workers. You will then be asked for a short description of how the incident occurred, the suspected cause of the incident, as well as any recommended steps to prevent a reoccurrence. This is where you will use the first 3 steps of your incident investigation techniques. Part C of the Annexure 1 form are the actions taken by the employer to prevent the recurrence of a similar incident. These actions should be actions taken immediately after the incident occurred. The action should state how the same incident can be prevented in future in order to protect the employees. This works hand in hand with step 4 of your incident investigation. It is at this stage that all actions should be followed up and implemented. This should also be reviewed and monitored to ensure that it is effective and sustainable in preventing future incidents and accidents. Note that the employer is responsible for this and must be actively involved in the action process. Part D of the Annexure 1 are the remarks by Health and Safety Committee. All SHE-reps that make up the Health and Safety Committee should discuss the incident at the committee meeting following that incident, and then determine if parts 1 to 3 have been actioned. They will then also report back to the employee on the outcome of the incident. Now, what if your company does not have an OHS committee? Then this can be discussed between the employer and employees. What is necessary is that open communication is evident and that action is taken. COID, or Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Disease, must be registered with one of the following: the Department of Labor, the Federated Employers Mutual Assurance Company, or the RAND Mutual Assurance. As a plumber, you will no doubt be registered with either the Department of Labor or with FEM. RMA are the specialists for mining and the iron, steel, and metals industry. So, have you registered with the Department of Labor or FEM? If not, please reach out to IOPSA Safety Department on safety@iopsa.org to assist you in getting registered. What is COID for? Workmen's compensation is a compulsory form of insurance providing wage replacement and medical benefits to employees injured in the course of their employment, and is governed by the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Disease Act. The aim of the COID Act is to provide for compensation to employees or their dependents in the case of death or disablement caused by occupational injuries and diseases, sustained or contracted by employees in the course of their employment, or death resulting from such injuries and diseases, and to provide for matters connected therewith. Chapter 9 of the COID Act outlines the obligations of employers. These are to register with the Commissioner and to furnish them with the particulars of the company, to keep records of all incidents and accidents, as well as to furnish the return of earnings for COID. Employees too have responsibilities. They should notify the employer of any potential dangerous act or condition. Employees are to notify the employer of any work-related incident and accident within the prescribed time. as well as keep records of incidents and accidents that occur and notify the employer of such, from a near miss to a Section 24 or 25 incident. In order to report and claim for occupational injuries and diseases, you will need to complete a WCL form. We will only discuss 4 of the various WCL forms available on the Department of Labor website, as they are the most used and often the most requested documents from doctors when claiming for compensation. Please ensure that you take the time out to check all WCL forms, as well as their uses, and keep digital copies for your company. The 4 WCL forms that we will discuss are WCL 1, the employer's report of an occupational disease; the WCL 2, the employer's report of an accident; the WCL 4, the first medical report in respect of an accident; and the WCL 22, the first medical report in respect of an occupational disease. When it comes to occupational diseases, an employer will not know if an employee is suffering with a disease unless it is diagnosed by a medical professional. Thus, when an employee is taken to the hospital for any illness, the doctor will diagnose the disease and determine if it falls within the scope of occupational disease. If this is the case, please ensure you get a copy of the WCL 22. This is a first medical report in respect of an occupational disease, so that you can use the information provided on this document to complete the WCL 1, the report of an occupational disease. For occupational diseases, employers should always keep copies of the following documents for any claims relating to occupational diseases: the employee's ID copy, previous and current medicals, personal contact information and details of each employee, as well as emergency contacts for employees. Remember, all documentation relating to personal information must be kept confidential and only issued to a medical practitioner or the Department of Labor when required. This information should not be given to any unauthorized person or third party. When it comes to occupational incidents and accidents, as referred to in Section 24 of the OHSS Act, these must be reported to the Department of Labor. Please note that you can complete a WCL2 form and report your incident or accident without claiming for compensation. If you do, however, wish to claim for compensation for the employee, then you must ensure, first of all, that your company is registered and in good standing, along with the latest and most updated copy of the Letter of Good Standing for compensation for occupational injuries and disease. Then, a company must also be registered with the Department of Labor Compensation online system in order to submit a claim. Is your company registered for COID? If not, and you need assistance with this, again, please reach out to our IOPSA Safety Department, safety@iopsa.org, and we can give you more guidance with registering with the Department of Labor or FEM. You will need to register as a company, then register as a COID user. For the Department of Labor, we will then submit a return of earnings for you. These are the earnings of directors and employees. An annual amount will need to be paid to the Department of Labor. You will then be able to download a Letter of Good Standing. This Letter of Good Standing will also give you your COID registration number. You will then need to register as a CompEasy user. The CompEasy website is to help you register for a claim for illnesses or injuries. Please remember that you must keep your annual return of earnings updated in order to get the latest Letter of Good Standing. This is the only way to ensure that your employees get the needed protection as well as medical treatment they deserve. When you have registered for the CompEasy system and you need to submit a claim, please remember that the user must ensure they have all relevant information and documentation to upload and submit along with the claim. You will require some of these documents to upload and submit: the employee's ID copy, the first medical report, as well as the employer's report of the accident or illness. For ongoing compensation claims, you will also require a WCL-5. This is a final or progress medical report in respect of an accident. Before completing any WCL form, make sure you have access to all information required. Why not take some time to read through the WCL forms and see what may be needed in the event of an incident, accident, or occupational illness? Then ensure you have copies of these and other items readily available.